Good morning and welcome to the channel. I am Brian Lusk. Thank you for joining me today. As you can tell, I am not in my normal location here, so do bear with me as we try and get things taken care of. I am away on a business trip right now, and so that means I'm going to be doing some of this stuff from a hotel room. In fact, right now my camera is strapped to the desk lamp on the desk, and that's what's providing the light for my face right now. So I'm not going to make a whole lot of adjustments. Maybe I might get a stand to put this on instead. But either way, we've got a lot of stuff going on. And I do thank you for joining me at this really dark 30, this 0500 wake up call for me in order to join me for some news out of Ukraine. Let's go ahead and get started because I do expect that at this time of morning it's going to be a little bit hard to get people jumping in here in a hurry. So let's go ahead and get started on that. And we're going to start off with from the defense of Ukraine. This morning, Russian terrorists, I'll use their word for this, launched a massive missile attack on Ukraine. Kyiv, Dnipro, Kryvyi Rih, Slovyansk, and Kramatorsk were under attack. The Okhmedite Children's Hospital, infrastructure objects, and apartment buildings were targets of the Russian attack. Now, they did have an initial casualty report. That casualty report is much higher. This is that children's hospital right here that took a direct strike by an X-101 missile. So this is not just a lot of Russian sources have been claiming, no, that's an air defense missile. It is absolutely not a Russian cruise missile. Well, we'll get into that as we go. Some additional pictures of the children's hospital. The damage was extensive. Now, to understand, this is a hospital where children go to get chemotherapy treatments for cancer. And some people would say, well, it's just an accident or something like that. But the truth is that Russia hit three hospitals yesterday, not one, but three. This indicates it's a targeted attack that was deliberately done in order to I don't know what they're trying to think of here, because certainly children don't deserve to be bombed out of existence. Here's they say, but yeah, the before and after of the children's hospital in Kyiv. This is the one that got the most attention, mainly because it is such an egregious violation of the Articles of War and deliberately targeting a hospital. So this one got a lot of the attention here, and so you'll see a lot about it this morning. Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, stated it's odious. Hitting a children's hospital and the innocent children there is an unjustifiable act. My heart goes out to the bereaved families, and Canada's commitment to Ukraine remains as strong as ever. There was footage of the strike. Even you will see that, and it's kind of hard to see on my little inky dinky screen, but the uh, the missile was clear. It was obviously an X-101. This is not even a questionable item. It was in a traditional attack profile. And I think I've got more about that as we go here because I picked up a lot of things that it was hard for me to. In fact, here's the missile itself. You see the distinctive engine underneath the wings of the 101 missile, and it's approaching from a steep top attack angle that you would expect from this type of missile. Another basically taking the picture and comparing it to the actual vehicle here, to the actual missile that they used. This is an air launched cruise missile, as I understand it. So there were pilots that jumped into their aircraft, took this thing aloft, and lobbed it at Kyiv. And this was clearly intentionally targeted. Again, if one hospital, I'd say, okay, accident. But there are reports that there are no military structures with anywhere near this hospital. Now, the Russians stated, well, no, it was shot down by air defense missiles, and it's an air defense missile that did it. An air defense missile it cannot even close to explain the level of damage that was caused to this building. Plus the pictures, which makes it even more clear. Children's Hospital post strike. The regular Russians are discussing this on their Telegram channels. This is not just a one off as far as they're concerned. They're literally cheering and calling for more missile strikes to finish off the cancer patient children and their moms. And having seen enough of those posts, yeah, I believe it. From Intel Crab, according to Russian media on July 8th, 2024, this is a stray piece of air defense shrapnel. This, the Children's Hospital, is a fortified NATO military base. And these are terrorists. Absolutely disturbing. This was when I was doing this research last night. It was very, very troubling going through this. I've had a night to sleep on it, and it's still very, very troubling. So the next military target after months of energy and power plant strikes? Hospitals, duh. This is Intel Crab talking about what Russians seem to prioritize. They did an enormous campaign against Ukrainian healthcare facilities during last year and the year before. Then they went to power facilities. It's clear that this has gotten very, very personal. The second Russian missile strike on Kyiv was actually a medium-sized private medical facility located in a very busy, purely civilian area with lots of apartment blocks, shops, public transit stops, and road traffic. Another hospital in Dnipro was also hit with ballistic missiles. Again, this was not a one-off occurrence. In reference to the latest heinous Russian terrorist attack against the Children's Hospital in Kyiv, Czech President Peter Pavel released the following statement. The attack on the Children's Hospital in Kyiv and many other Ukrainian cities is proof that Putin's Russia will stop at nothing. Attacking the most vulnerable is inexcusable. I am about to leave for the NATO summit where I expect a consensus that we will all see Russia as the biggest threat for which we must be thoroughly prepared. Apparently, they directly hit the oncology statement, and they carried out what cancer treatments they could outside of the building, since it was the main facility was destroyed. Cancer treatment out in the open. Now, these children have got compromised immune systems. It's not like they can afford to be out amongst the populace right now. Too many opportunities for them to catch a bug and die as their immune system is utterly compromised. Ukrainians have been responding not with attacking hospitals, but instead with attacking Russians. Today and at all times on the entire front, the Ukrainian military prepares revenge on the cursed enemies. For every child's tear, for the blood of Ukrainian children, and the destroyed hospital, Okhmadit. They're writing it on the side of every bomb they can. The host of Solovyev, now Solovyev is a Russian propagandist channel, Yulia Vizvaya, states in her telegram that Russia does not strike children's hospitals or children. In the same post, she attached footage of a Russian strike on children and a hospital. That's the type of people that are running things over in Russia right now. From the roughest and toughest of circumstances, sometimes great heart is revealed, though. Victor and Olena Pinchuk will take over the restoration of medical equipment at the Okhmadit Children's Hospital. The foundation's representatives are currently communicating with the hospital to identify the most important needs. The enemy criminal does not even realize that such tragic moments only unite Ukraine and Ukrainians more. We cannot bring back the lives of the killed, but together we will rebuild everything. Of course, somebody had to look at the numbers. Um, the Forbes stated that Russia spent $250 million on today's missile attack on Ukraine. $250 million to strike a children's hospital and two other medical facilities. The UN Security Council will meet tomorrow, July 9th, at the request of several countries after a missile strike on Kyiv destroyed a children's hospital. The request was made by Britain, France, Slovenia, and Ecuador. I've also heard word that Ukraine was also amongst those who who made that request. The thing is that Russia is on the Security Council. Looks like I've got a little bit of internet problems here, so let's hope that will clear up. Let's see. The encoder's kind of having some trouble here. Let me simplify things and see if that will help any. Let's see. It's going to be. All right. I'm going to lose the camera for a while, guys, so I do apologize for that. Let's see if the stream will recover. It looks like it's still encoding on my end, at least. Bear with me a second. I'm going to watch this and see if it comes back. In fact, I will double check. There it goes. Looks like it's starting to recover. All right, we're back to normal here, so I apologize. We're going to leave the camera off for a while here and continue on forward. Let's move on to the news out of Ukraine. Not a lot, but this invasion is causing such dramatic damage. You can actually see what's happening from space. The front line itself is this no man's land. It's been stable enough that you're seeing entire areas basically depopulated and returned to nature effectively. So you can see the front line in various places. This has left many fields in Ukraine inaccessible or within occupied territory. Ukraine did strike an ammunition warehouse in Voronezh as of July 7th. That would be 2 days ago now, which later turned out to be a very large one. Last I saw, it was still exploding as of July 8th. I believe by this point it may have gotten it put out at this point. It's very, looks like it was a very large depot. Ukrainian drone operators, according to the Institute for the Study of War, appear to be improving their capabilities to interdict longer-range Russian drones in midair. And these technological innovations may allow Ukrainian forces to ease pressures on short-range and medium-range air defense assets if successfully fielded at scale. Translation, they're ramming drones with drones now. And we've seen several videos of that in the past, and it looks like it's going to be the continuing pattern for a while. So that's interesting, and I do believe we're going to see a lot more of that as we move forward. Let's go ahead and move on to Russia itself. We've got a few items. I'm going to try and keep things just moving along at a steady clip this morning. So let me know if you're having trouble hearing me or anything like that. The CEO of a Russian defense contractor has been arrested over the alleged theft of 2 billion rubles, or $22.6 million, in relation to the supply of bulletproof vests to Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. It's the latest in a long series of Russian military procurement scandals. Now, I think I've got this later on here, but I'll just mention it now. One of those scandals was a apparently charitable organization tried to declare that they were giving body armor to Russian soldiers, and it turned out when they opened up the body armor, it was instead of having the Kevlar plates, it was wooden. It was wood plates. That will not protect you against any of the bullets that are flying around Ukraine right now. The Economist recently reported on Russian casualties in Ukraine. The They commented that almost everyone who knows how that he knows, well, the Ukrainian Vault 8, Russian mill blogger Vault 8 said that almost everyone he knows who fought in Ukraine has been killed or wounded. But to put it into perspective, the low estimate of direct deaths is 106,000, with a high estimate of 140,000. Compare that to Chechnya, 18,500, which was, shall we say, two different periods of war. One of them from 94 to 96, the second from 99 to 2009. Afghanistan, Russia lost 15,000. And in the first part of Ukraine here, from 2014 February to the full-scale invasion, Russia lost 6,500 troops. And other military conflicts, they lost 1,400. So this period of 2 and a little bit more than 2 years has resulted in the highest losses Russia has ever seen in its military since World War II. And yet the Russians continue to go at it. A charity foundation in here's the wooden plates here. The charity foundation donated these 20 plates, these 20 armored vests here, and they were just blocks of wood inside. Corruption even gets the charities. This is the Russian ammunition in Voronezh that we just mentioned earlier. Secondary explosions heard, and the Russians actually had to evacuate the area. An intense amount of explosions and the like. This is a lot of ammunition, says Tindar. Then this comes from Ivana Strodner, who is a research fellow and an analyst and a correspondent, talking about the situation in Eastern Europe. This is pulled from a Russian policymaker and academic article on the official Russian MFA journal website. What's needed for Russian victory? Victory is only possible in the logic of another patriotic war, a great patriotic special operation. We need spiritual purification and recovery. Our country needs purification to Russify the lands that will be added to it, subsequently prevent infection with political Ukraineness. So in order for Russia to win, they must absolutely eliminate Ukraine, or as they called it, Ukraineness. In Smolensk, Russian partisans set fire to a railroad relay box for a railway track that is important for Russia's war efforts. This has been an ongoing pattern of partisan activities. The Ukrainians did strike Belgorod with, they report several private houses damaged, with the largest explosion thundering in the city less than 10 minutes ago as of yesterday at 4:27 p.m. That would be Central Time. A number of victims unknown, but again, the Ukrainians are responding in kind. Likely this is probably just another shot down drone, but you know what? I'm not even going to claim that for sure because I have no proof. More on the ammunition warehouse in Voronezh. This blast was massive, and the satellite images confirmed this massive destruction. You can see the before and after images showing exactly how much went up in smoke. Good morning, Ozzy. Glad to see you. Always glad to have you here. It's early in the morning, though I know for you it is in the evening, so I do appreciate you stopping in. Let's go ahead and move on to the international front here. Turkey has been working with Russia for, looks like it's, well, it looks like it's been since 2017, with construction beginning then. Uh, Turkey had contracted to have a nuclear power plant built by Russia on their territory. And on top of that, there was a whole deal involved with this, with Russia building it, running it, the whole 9 yards. And now it looks like they finally are saying it's going. This whole thing's been frozen because those funds have disappeared once again. Probably frozen funds from sanctions and things like that. French electoral results. We've got some analysis of it. Le Pen, by the way, was a French leader who was very much pro Russia. She was trying to set up to run the French government, but they were definitely kept out of power. The French socialists will likely have a grip on power. They're geopolitically moderate, um, and so at least overall, from an external perspective, that's not too bad. I'm not sure I'd want the socialists in charge of anything, but that's up to France, not me. The bad news is we can expect months of domestic political fights, which will exhaust France as an important European power and will force Emmanuel Macron into foreign policy concessions. This weakens the already weak French position in light of a possible Trump victory and expected pressure on Ukraine to partially capitulate. And the really bad news is if French far left, which is part of the election winning left coalition, would have grip on government power, it would be really bad because the French far left adores Russia and does not consider Ukraine to really be a country and hates both NATO and the United States. Whereas the UK government went even stronger in favor of Ukraine than the old one. Their defense secretary Healy has now made a rush trip to Odessa and announced a new security package, which I might have details on a little bit later. Viktor Orban was interviewed after his little PR trip between Ukraine and the Kremlin. He went to both. He basically said that he kept his meeting secret so that the big guys wouldn't know about it. But all of this, you can tell from the interview that he was really proud of himself for setting up a meeting with Vladimir Putin without telling anybody else about it until it finally came out. This is not the action of somebody who thinks he's being above the board and making a serious effort at a peace negotiation. By the way, Orban did absolutely state that he was that. Sorry, Orban did state that Putin absolutely said that there was no possibility of a ceasefire. In fact, Putin dismissed the reality of any peace plans or ceasefires, but talked about potentially a future for Europe's security architecture. Yeah, he's looking beyond Ukraine, all right. Polish jets flying near the border with Ukraine and entered Ukrainian airspace, according to a reliable source. I've seen this from multiple sources now. The rumors were circulating all day that an agreement brokered with Kyiv and NATO to have them patrol Western Ukrainian airspace, especially after today's massive Russian attack that hit 3 hospitals, amongst other things. Now, there is some additional information. For one thing, uh, Ukraine and Poland signed a security cooperation agreement. From Intel Crab, this unprecedented document includes a provision for shooting down Russian missiles and drones in Ukraine's airspace that are fired in the direction of Poland. So it looks like Poland is going to get a little bit more directly involved to try and stop Russia from its intentions of conquering Ukraine. South Korea is not very happy with Russia right now since Russia has been working with North Korea so closely. Military cooperation between Russia and North Korea poses a distinct threat and grave challenge to the peace and security on the Korean peninsula and in Europe. Since North Korea already supplies Russia with weapons, I consider this a rhetorical question about it being some kind of a new threat. It's unlikely that Putin and Kim will or even can withdraw from their commitment. South Korea is going to have to react. In the I can't believe it's happening area, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced that they are going to partner with the Taliban to fight against terrorism. The jokes write themselves, but I'm not in the mood. The Iranian, now this is not directly related to anything going on in Ukraine, although it's just interesting. The Iranian frigate Sahand capsized and sunk in the port of Bandar Abbas. The ship was commissioned in 2018 and is one of the most modern in their fleet. The Iranian TV calls it an incident. Interesting that it would just happen to incident at this point in time. India. Now, India has been kind of sucking up to Russia for a while. Um, in fact, the Modi is up there for a visit right now, and it looks like he's trying to be all buddy buddy. But there are things that are causing points of contention. We'll just say Modi is asking, that be the Indian Prime Minister is asking the Russians to discharge Indians from the Russian army, and there it looks like he's getting increasingly annoyed at Russia for their meat wave tactics, I guess, that involve Indian citizens. Here it is. The UK government has announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, including 250,000 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition, 90 anti-armor brimstone missiles, 50 small military boats, 10 AS-90 155 millimeter self-propelled howitzers with new barrels, 32 of those. By the way, new barrels is an important piece, because those barrels do wear out over time. Russia doesn't have the ability to significantly manufacture new barrels. So when they shoot a barrel out of one of their pieces of equipment, they have to rob a replacement from another piece of equipment. They can probably, I don't know, I've not seen any word on them having any ability to manufacture barrels, but overall, that's the situation they're finding. 40 demining vehicles, 61 bulldozers, and the support for the previously gifted AS-90s, and critical spares. More about the Ukraine and Poland security agreement. This would be the possibility of transferring to Ukraine at least one additional squadron of MiG 29s. That'd be 14 additional fighters. The possibility of an intercepting missiles and drones in Ukrainian airspace launched in the direction of Poland. Also, the security agreement speaks of the creation of a Ukrainian Legion, training of personnel of the security and defense forces of Ukraine on the territory of Poland. And there's a block of cooperation in the defense industry, in particular the placement of Polish defense companies' production facilities in Ukraine. So pretty good overall security agreement. Now let's go ahead and kick the tensions up a notch here. Chinese troops have kicked off a joint anti-terrorism exercise in Belarus, right on NATO's border. They say that this is a scheduled training that was scheduled a long time ago, and this is China's force projection to the Atlantic. Now, I mean, fine, work together. That's fine. I'm less concerned about that so much as I'm concerned about China actually getting their troops closer to Ukraine. The Netherlands will soon deliver a Patriot radar and 3 Patriot launchers to Ukraine, along with promised F-16s. The Patriot is expected to arrive within weeks, but the F-16s are going to remain undisclosed for, quote, operational security. The Netherlands will provide Ukraine with a mobile forensics lab in the investigation of over 130,000 war crimes committed by Russia. This support was announced during the recent visit by the Dutch foreign minister and the et cetera like that. So this is at least another way to investigate all of the war crimes that Russia has been carrying out as they've gone about their attacks. Now, something I want to back up for 1 second here. I did go back to the hospitals for a second. I caught this just this morning, and I don't have it handy. But one of the reports that came out of the hospital, the children's hospital attack, was that the first responders were given water, and the water was poisoned, sending several of the first responders to the emergency room. So much as we like to talk about the partisan activities over in Russia, it looks like Russia has got their agents in Ukraine as well. So that should be everything from the international front. Let's go ahead and bop into the front lines here. It's a little bit smaller than normal today. There's been a steady batch of advances by Russia. Let's go ahead and get into what those are, but we're just going to skip straight to the details on a lot of those. Here is the results of some Ukrainian artillery strikes against Russian dugouts and fortifications on the left bank of the Dnipro, and this was a pretty extensive bit of destruction here. Every time I think the Dnipro River is getting too quiet, I get one more of these types of things here. There's something going to happen there, and I don't know what. I've got some theories, but I'm going to let the Ukrainians decide exactly what they're going to publish on the matter. Either way, it's clear to me that they're still softening up that area. War Gonzo's overall report on the situation on the front line. This is the Russian source I often refer to. Zaporizhia, no significant changes. Donetsk, much of this is no significant changes, although there are some advances in the area. They particularly mention, let me see if I can find it now. They talk about, for instance, the Ukrainian armed forces putting up resistance to prevent Russian troops from advancing. They do say that the Ukrainians tried to regain some lost positions to no avail, but overall the situation remains minor changes at most, with Russia taking little nibbles here and little nibbles there. Chasiv Yar, Russian troops continue their attempts to advance. Minor progress, he says. And Kharkiv and the Volchansk, heavy fighting continues in the central part of the city with no significant changes. It says that there were several different places where they said there were some additional attacks. Overall, this basically matches what I've seen elsewhere. Now, Russians do appear to be making some progress, mostly in open territory. The Russians advanced west of Kromakane out towards Pisheni. The actual status of Berestova remains unclear, but currently listed as Ukrainian controlled. No geolocated confirmed footage speaks otherwise. Seversk indicates the Russians have managed to raise their flag in Sperne. This is a small front settlement at the front town that's been fought over for a long time and has changed hands multiple times. The question is really going to be, are the Russians going to hold it this time? New York. Geolocated footage finally confirms Russian presence south of New York. Ukraine did conduct counterattacks, which is why Yurivka is still contested. And there was a situation where some Ukrainian units abandoned positions south of New York, which led to this large advance. Now, it sounds like from the other sources I've seen is it was intended to be the Ukrainian forces were intended to rotate out a unit and bring in a different one, and it was a timing issue. Either way, it still means that the Russians have managed to take that chunk right there. Good morning, Jerry. Glad to have you on board this early hour. And Robotna shows that the Robotna-Verbova axis shows that the Russian forces have advanced along the T-0803 highway west of Novopokrovka. That's this chunk right here. This doesn't necessarily mean recent advances. It just indicates that the Russians have been in that area possibly for some time. We're not clear. And that's a situation on the front lines there. Let's go ahead and move on to the interesting extras. There's not a lot here today. For instance, this is a former Russian convict, Alexandry Akulchin, who stated, if I had known that this would happen, I wouldn't have left prison. I would have stayed and I would have served my time. That should tell you exactly how bad it is on the front lines when even the hardened criminals are saying they'd rather be back in prison instead. Here's another video of a Ukrainian first person view drone that's actually taking on Russian aerial vehicles. In this case, a Russian Zala recon drone being taken out. I'll go ahead and just let it play. You can see it closing. The dot's right above the crosshair there. Now it's right there, and thunk, taking out that aerial drone. Now, this is not related to the war in Ukraine. However, for those who are claiming that the future is electric vehicles, understand what it takes to make those electric vehicle batteries. The water crisis has hit Namibian schools as lithium mining drains resources. The students end up having to fetch water instead of studying. The Bank of Namibia said the status quo is not sustainable. There is an environmental cost, there is a human cost to the electrification of our vehicle operations. The amount of strip mining that's having to take place to get this lithium is enormous. Tremendous amounts of damage to the environment and to people who are just trying to survive in the hardest and poorest areas of the world. That's what the electric vehicle revolution is doing. Just because we aren't seeing it here doesn't mean it's not happening. And we'll end off with this post from Defense of Ukraine. Freedom is worth fighting for. And that's everything for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I know that it's early this morning. This is the first opportunity I've had after driving for 14 hours on Sunday, a full day of classes yesterday. So I'm going to be heading out in just a few minutes here to get to start my day here. I hope you enjoyed today's stream, even though the mood might have been a bit more somber than normal. Russia attacking children's hospitals does not exactly make me a happy-go-lucky guy in the morning. Overall, though, I do appreciate you being here, even though it's not a lot of comments because it is early in the morning. I want you to know that I do appreciate you being here, even at this crazy, crazy hour. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next video.